Cue Strength and Language Processing, an eye-tracking study. Some interesting research at the University of Pittsburgh and the Learning Research Development Center with Dr. Tuninetti, Dr. Warren, and Dr. Tokovich involves how word order violations affect language processing in L2 learners and how the L1 influences these violations in the L2. Word order violations happen when the order of words in a sentence is not grammatical in that language. For example, in English, the mouse ate the cheese is grammatical, but an ungrammatical sentence could be the mouse ate cheese. This could be grammatical in another language that has different rules for noun articles. The researchers use eye tracking to look at the eye movements during word order violations to see if there is a transfer from the L1. The Unified Competition Model, or UCM, views L2 and L1 as depending on a shared set of cognitive processes, meaning the second language learners have to deal with a brain that has already configured for the tasks of processing the first language. The UCM predicts that transfer from the first language will affect the processing of sentences where decisions about structure are made by interpreting cues such as cue validity and cue reliability. In other words, how often they're present and how often they're correct. The visual in front of you demonstrates how different languages have different word order. So a Spanish or Italian L2 learner of English might process this sentence differently than a native English speaker would. And what are cues? Cues form the basis of language comprehension, as the article states. UCM experiments use sentences in which cues have been randomly combined to measure the strength of underlying cues. To measure cue strength, this model relies on conflicting cues. In this study, the cues are word order violations in ungrammatical sentences. Competition between cues is essential to measure cue strength.
So, what do we already know about eye tracking studies? There's an online method of eye tracking in which eye movements are tracked while a subject is reading, and regressions are measured in real time. Eye tracking is often combined with offline post tasks. This study combines it with offline grammaticality judgments, where subjects are asked if a sentence is grammatical or not at the end of the sentence, which we'll see later as the study on bilinguals expands on these methods.
In this study, 5 different types of eye movements were measured. First pass reading is the first time the participants read the sentence. First pass reading times is the total duration of all the fixations on a region from when it is first fixated until the eyes leave the region during first pass reading. First fixation duration, which is the duration of the first fixation on a region during first pass reading. First pass regressions out, which is the proportion of trials on which there was a regression from a region. Go past time is the sum of all the fixations from first entering a region all the way to the right, and total time, the total fixation on a region.
Participants in this study included Arabic English bilinguals, Mandarin English bilinguals, and English speakers. Specifically, 29 native Arabic speakers, 31 native Mandarin speakers, and 29 native English speakers. The non-native English speakers were recruited from the English Language Institute at the University of Pittsburgh. The independent variable of this study is cue strength, and the dependent variable is sensitivity to word order violations and L1 transfer. The native languages of participants is a participant variable, which makes this a quasi-variable study. Participants with Arabic, Mandarin, and English as their L1 were chosen in order to compare how each language differs from the L1 to L2. Different languages have different rules. For example, Arabic and English share the same noun-article rule, while Mandarin does not, although Mandarin and English share the same noun-adjective rule, while Arabic does not. Researchers hypothesized positive transfer from Arabic for the noun-article sentence and negative transfer from Mandarin. Consequently, they hypothesized positive transfer from Mandarin for the noun-adjective sentence and negative transfer from Arabic. This is because of the shared noun-article rules in Arabic and English, as well as the shared noun-adjective rules in Mandarin and English.
Results, however, did not show this trend. Instead, they found that all speakers showed quick sensitivity to noun article sentences, which had the most accurate grammaticality judgments across groups. No transfer from either L1 language was shown in this study.
Results from Table 2. First, fixation durations were longer for the noun article condition than the noun adjective and grammatical conditions in all language groups. Regressions out had a similar pattern. Native English speakers had the shortest go past times in the grammatical condition, longer times in the noun adjective condition, and the longest times in the noun article condition. Native Arabic speakers had shorter go past times in the grammatical condition than in both the noun adjective and the noun article condition, with no differences in between the two ungrammatical conditions. Native Mandarin speakers showed no significant difference between the conditions. Total times were longer in both the noun adjective and noun article ungrammatical conditions than in the grammatical conditions in all three language groups. For native Mandarin and English speakers, total times were longer in both the noun adjective and noun article ungrammatical conditions than in the grammatical condition. Native Arabic speakers didn't show a significant difference between grammaticality conditions.
The researchers considered that a possible reason for why there was no positive or negative L1 transfer in their experiment could have been because of the participants' L2 experience. They were fully immersed in an English environment, and their level of English proficiency was moderate to high, although this requires much more research to confirm. We've learned about the length of residency and L2 immersion with the L1 Mandarin speaking students and how transfer may affect grammaticality judgments. Furthermore, this was a mainly syntactic task and changes in word order are very salient, something that may be easily learned in language acquisition. In conclusion, this experiment heavily revolved around syntax and sentence processing, as well as cues. In class, we've learned about syntax and the garden path model leading to misanalysis, reanalysis, regressions, and more. This experiment expanded on these modular errors in bilinguals to observe the grammatical judgments of English speakers with different L1s. We learned about L2 speakers of English, like the Chinese students, and how experience shapes perception, LOR. So we have a good idea how or if the participants' L1 experiences influences their perception of L2.